I'm going to expose a scaling strategy today that's responsible for over $100 million in revenue per year for all of the brands we work with collectively under my Google Ads agencies, and that too profitable ROAS like a 13x or a 5x or a 10x, so on and so forth. And the best part about this strategy is that it works regardless of the niche or industry your brand is in. In fact, it's a simple 4-step process which can be used over and over again without any types of adjustments to the actual steps. But with that, let's get right into the first step of this scaling process. And by the way, before I actually even get into the actual step-by-step approach, what I want to say is most brands, from my experience so far, now working with over 7 years with the Google Ads platform itself and with e-commerce brands, is most brands overcomplicate scaling. They think that scaling with Google Ads is about adding all of these nitty-gritty details, all of these fancy bells and whistles, or just spending thousands and thousands of dollars per day to achieve a good level of scale. And while there may be a little bit of a truth to this is not exactly how scaling works with Google Ads, because more often than not, what you will notice is the more you scale, the more money you spend, the more campaigns you launch, the revenue that comes through, the profitability that comes through, it's not often incremental profits or incremental revenue. At some point in time, even though you're scaling up the ad spend, even if you're scaling up the campaigns, the number of campaigns you're launching, at some point, it's going to plateau and then it's going to go into this decrease. This happens because of the way you're scaling, because you're not following the right approach, which ends up basically making your foundation too weak to support this new skill you're introducing. So this first step actually helps with that, and that is to focus on your ROAS first. Before you can scale up the revenue, before you can scale up the ad spend, what you want to understand is you want first an efficient ad strategy that's mixed with high buying intent campaigns that's running profitably. And when I say decent amount of time, I'm referring to 7, 14, 21 days and more. High buying intent campaigns include things like performance max campaigns, standard shopping campaigns, even search, YouTube. These 4 campaign types, you need to have an established strategy working with these campaign types first before you even think about adding new campaign types like demand gen or anything else which is not high buying intent. And the main thing you want to focus on during this first step is to focus on segregation. The more segregated your products are, the better the campaigns will perform and the more scale will be introduced. Now, in terms of segregation, what you want to keep in mind is everything that you do within your campaigns in terms of which products you put in there or which ad copies you put in there, it should be based on a given similarity. It doesn't matter if it's shopping campaigns like Performance Max even, or if it's search campaigns. There needs to be an overall genre that campaign is targeting. For example, your PMax campaign could be targeting the best-selling products only, or it could be targeting a sub-collection or sub-niche. For the search campaigns, each ad group could be targeting an individual keyword or an individual persona. For example, let's say you're trying to sell meal replacement bars. You're selling these bars where people at the gym can often eat. Then one ad group might be targeting the persona where people are bulking. The second ad group might be you targeting people who are always on the go and they're traveling. So these keywords will be different per ad group as well. And the key here that you want to understand on a broad level is there should be a similarity with the ad group level or within the campaign level, because this makes it easy for the algorithm to go after the right kind of person you want to target, and it also helps your conversion rates tremendously, because the ultimate goal with step 1 right here, which is focusing on your ROAS, is to get your ROAS to be at least 25% above your break-even number. So let's say, for example, your break-even ROAS is at a 3x. Well, you need to be at a 3.75x ROAS minimum consistently for 7, 14, 21 days before you even think about scaling aggressively. Because what happens is when you start to scale aggressively, your ROAS often starts to drop. That's just a byproduct of introducing your ads and your campaigns to a brand new audience. This audience might not be as high buying intent as it was before, because before you're targeting a small pocket of the audience. But as the pocket sizes increase, the buying intention of this audience becomes lower and lower and lower, and not everybody from this bigger pool of audience is going to purchase your product. So you want to always keep in mind that it should be at least 25% above the break-even ROAS, because that's going to ultimately bring you to step number 2, which is slowly increasing the ad spend while decreasing restriction. This is where now we start introducing scale within the scaling process. Now, the best approach I found out now scaling over 503 brands under my Google Ads agency or marketing, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the very next level with Google Ads, go to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But essentially here, every 7 to 14 days, you want to be going into the campaign to do some kind of scale related change. This could be increasing the budgets or decreasing restrictions. In fact, I recommend that you do both at intervals. So what that means is after the first 7 days after you have your ROAS higher than 25% of your break even and you want to start scaling, after the first 7 days, you want to go in and increase your daily budget once. This increase could be based around 20% of your current budget. It could be 30%. You don't want to do it too aggressively because otherwise it's gonna really deepen the learning phase that it goes into once again. And this could cause problems when it comes to consistency long term. But after the first 7 days, increase the daily ad spend by 20% to 30%. And then the next 7 days, 7 days later, decrease the ROAS or target CPA target. So if you have a target restriction on there, for example, a target ROAS of 300%, decrease it by maybe 10% to maybe 15% max after the second 7-day period. And then once that's done, you can alternate between increasing budgets and decreasing ROAS targets. This will help the campaigner slowly start to reach more audience members without going too crazy and without drastically dropping your return on ad spend. So the main goal here with step 2 is to maintain your profitability, because that's then going to take us to step 3. After you have scaled the budgets, after you have decreased restrictions, what you then want to do is you want to start scaling the back end, because truth be told, it's no good focusing on just the campaigns, because eventually your campaign structure, your campaign scale will be too good for your current foundational setup. And what will happen is your foundations will start to weaken, cracks will start to appear within your foundation, and pretty soon your entire foundation will fall apart. This is where you see brands that go from spending $1,000, $5,000 a day to barely $200, $500 a day, because their foundations could not support that level of scale, and as a result, their profitability plummeted, their revenue plummeted, and as a result, the ad agency or the people handling the Google Ads account, they had to lower the budgets completely to now support this newer, lower level of scale, essentially. But what you need to understand is your foundations must scale along with the campaigns if you want long-term scale and long-term profitability for your brand. Now, we personally do this by going inside the inside section within your Google Ads account and simply devouring it, trying to understand as much information as possible. What are the right keywords? What are the new competitors coming into the market? Which ones are we competing with, etc. And we want to be improving the product titles, descriptions, and the overall product feed every 14 to 30 days. This is the third step of the scaling process, and this is one of the most important steps, because as you're scaling budgets, as you're decreasing restrictions, you're reaching a larger portion of the audience, larger pool of the audience. But to support this new scale you're achieving, to make sure that this new audience actually converts, you want the feed to be as strong as possible with the right product titles and the right product descriptions with proper SEO technique. But once these 3 steps are accomplished and you are now on the right path to scaling, it's profitable, it's moving in the right direction, you want to move on to step 4, which is rinse and repeat. At this point, you can basically focus on doing everything back from step number 1 over and over, because after all, scale with Google Ads is just a mixture of these 3 steps over and over and over again. There's nothing else to it. Just improve your foundations, scale your ad spend, focus on your profitability. It's literally that simple if you keep it that simple. But again, if you run a brand doing 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go on to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen.